Dr. Harivansh Narayan Singh Ji, Honorable Deputy Chairman of Rajya Sabha, a very distinguished parliamentarian, scholar and author, and being a great authority on most contemporary issues with a historical perspective and a vision of a futurist. Respected Shri Prabhat Kumar Ji, former Commerce Secretary, whom the fraternity of Indian civil servants look as a great role model, who has got a very distinguished career and probably was responsible for many of the initiatives that the government had taken. I'm very grateful to him for giving me this opportunity to address the 6th lecture of Sardar Patel Ji's 150th anniversary. It's a very special occasion. It's a very special audience, and I'm very grateful for giving me this opportunity. Shri Mahesh Kapoor Ji, former Advisor Planning Commission, distinguished ladies and gentlemen. It is my proud privilege to talk on a subject about which probably I know the least, and probably most of you sitting here have done more. That is about the governance. But still, I would like to share a perspective of what a security man looks at the process of governance. I definitely believe that governance has a very seminal role in the process of nation building and in the process of securing a nation and making it achieve its goals and aspirations. It is indeed very befitting that today, in 2025, we should be reinventing Sardar Patel. Probably the need to understand him, the time to emulate him and understand his vision, his clarity of thought, his vision is required in India today more than ever before. Not only India is under transition, India is having an orbital shift from a certain type of governance, from a certain type of a government structures, societal structures, but also its place in the global order. The world is also undergoing a great transformation. And whenever the change comes, the most important things are your clarity of vision. You're not getting blinded by the dust and the storms, not getting overawed by the noise and the threats. You're not getting subdued by the adversities and the possible threats. You have to prepare yourself and you have to equip yourself. And that is what Sardar Patel's whole life was all about. Whether it was pre-independence, where he played a very seminal role as a warrior of freedom movement, supporting Mahatma Gandhi and all his ventures, but also in a short time, in the post-independent period, that he was able not to unify the states, but to integrate India, bring up that understanding in 560 princely states that it was in their interest that India as a state survives, strengthens, and is able to take care of this old civilization which was experimenting with converting itself into a nation state. Converting a civilization into a nation state is a stupendous task. He knew that it can only be done through very powerful governance mechanism. The government has got to think and do beyond what is normally expected. And that is how he envisaged, and I'm grateful that Dr. Harivansh Ji told us about how his vision of the All India services, he's the patron saint, the mentor of that. Despite resistance and strong prejudice at that time in the civil services, probably he was able to prevail that without the steel structure, we will not be able to create a new India. Ladies and gentlemen, power of the nations, nations whether they are powerful or they're weak, or the comprehensive national power, is a very abstract word. In reality, it is the power of the governments, and it is the power of the governance. When the governments are weak, when the governments are confused, when the governments are imbued by the self-interest, probably the consequences also are similar. And these governments work through institutions. And in the task of nation building, the most important matter are the people who build and nurture these institutions, who strengthen these institutions, because these institutions provide the governance, and the governance creates the nations and the powerful states. Sardar Patel's role in this is self-evident. The rise and fall of the great empires, monarchies, oligarchies, aristocracies, or democracies is actually a history of their governance. Edward Gibbon, in 6 volumes on the decline of Roman power, way back about 1788 or something, he wrote those volumes. The whole book is about the intrigues of the Roman Empire, instances of its bad governance, corruption, economic mismanagement, security failures. And at the end of it, it all boils down to the Roman Empire fell because it was administered and governed badly. Same is the story of whether it's the French Revolution, the Tsarist Russia, or the Mughal Empire, they declined. In the post-war period, out of 37 countries that faced various degrees of degradation, 28 failed or got degraded or got balkanized because of their poor governance. And the recent cases of the change of regimes through non-constitutional methods in Bangladesh, Sri Lanka, Nepal, and others were actually the gilding cases of the bad governance. And that is how the governance matters. Transcending beyond time and space, there are some commonalities. Why some states rise and why some fall? Why in the times when, what is there that happens which leads to their bad governance and ultimately the erosion of their powers? One has been the authoritarianism. Not that I am going in history, but I am telling it because it remains relevant today. It has remained relevant for the past 3,000 years of the recorded history that we know of the state structures and the governments as they existed, whether it was the Greek states or it was the modern democracies and even the oligarchies and others. So authoritarianism, that is oppressive and discriminating laws, poor delivery of justice, marginalized population, human rights violations, they all constituted or added to the fall of these nations. Second important thing has been the institutional decay. The institutes start decaying, both civil and military. Security structures, their armies become corrupt or oppressive, or their internal security structures collapse. Bureaucracies become inept, slow, corrupt, and insensitive. There is no accountability. People do not know why they are doing what they are doing. I tell you an example that once when Bismarck, before the Russia war, had visited Germany, and he went to a forest area for seeing, and he found a military man standing at a post. He asked him, "What are you here for?" He said, "I do not know, but I had been on this duty for the last 3 years. So he said, I would have to check up." And then he checked up. And then he found that his commanding officer also did not know, but he said, "My battalion has been here for the last 20 years. And this is one point that has been given to us to guard." He said, "What are you guarding against and against whom?" He says, "That I am not aware, but I can check it up and find out whether in my regiment there is some records." So he went through that, and then after long research and others, Bismarck found that about 150 years back when Zardina had come on a horseback for a hunting, and she lost her necklace in the forest. She could not locate it there, so they turned, but asked her ADC to guard, put somebody on the guard duty and send some people tomorrow to search it. Probably some people came or did not come, but that necklace was not found. Necklace was forgotten to everyone. Nobody knows what happened to the necklace. But for 180 years, the sentry was still on the duty. This is how the decay starts, and that is when Bismarck predicted that this nation and this regime will not last. And that's what happened. Another factor is the economic failures, scarcities, the food. Actually, a large number of civilizations, this thing, because of the economic meltdown. Harappa, Mohenjo-daro and other civilizations, now increasing evidence is coming forth that probably the essentials of survival became scarce over there. The food, the water, the inflation, oppressive taxes, social unrest, they become the cause of the state failures. They are the old ones. They still exist. They still exist, and they continue to beleaguer the emerging societies. But the new ones have cropped up and have made the situation more complex. What are these new factors which have started impacting on the process of governance and has made the task more challenging? One is the centrality of the common man. The common man has become more aware. He has become more aspirational. He has higher expectations from the state, and the state has got a vested interest in keeping him satisfied, particularly in the democracies. In the same vein, what has happened that while democracy has proved to be one of the most effective and one of the most enduring systems of governance, it has created its own problems. It leads to partisan politics. There are dividends in division. Now, this is the division is a very strange phenomenon. If there are 100 people and I have got a following of 25, I can come to power if I can divide the rest in groups that each is smaller than 25. It is not an aspiration to make it 51, but it's an aspiration to divide the rest of the society in as many fragments as you can. And that fragmentation is something which is the danger of this thing. That comes, after all, it's a package. It comes with its good things, but we have got to guard against the possible, the negative side of it. The third is the role of money. And I'm not talking about India, I'm talking about the world over. Wherever there are these democracies, there is a money that plays a role. Now, in whatever role, there's a legitimate role, illegitimate role, legally approved, illegally approved, whatever is that. But the fact is this, money plays a role. So, your idealism, your vision, your thought, your patriotism somehow has got to have a strong support of the money. And there is often eclipsing of national interests by the Western interest. And by the Western interest, I do not mean here purely in a very negative personal sense of being corrupt or lack of integrity. But Western interest is that your very, very localized, smaller interest in which the larger national interests become probably less important. So what do we need to counter it, to address it? Both the old ones and the new challenges that have emerged. One is, of course, that we have got to look at our entire system of laws and the rules and the procedures and the processes and make them more people-friendly by the laws and the rules and the systems which are strong but are people-friendly. Our policies and plans should meet aspirations of the people. Basic needs of the people must be addressed, and the people must be given a sense of security. It is not sufficient to say that we have taken sufficient security measures. What is equally important is that we are able to make every Indian feel that he is secure, both from forces, internal and external. While we can deal with them effectively as per the laws and as per the policies of the government, but we can create the deterrence that can convince them credibly that we have got the will and we have got the strength to respond to any threats in a way and in a manner that we consider best for our national security. There is also a very special need for taking care of the deprived, the weak, the marginalized, and give them a sense of empowerment. And particularly, this thing of women is extremely important. The need for protection, the need for safety, the need for giving a sense of equality and empowerment to women is necessary for the good governance in the modern day world. And I think one of the other requirements is that it is not only the capacity of the government to have good laws, good structures and good systems, but more importantly, an ability to implement them effectively. This is important particularly in the case of India. We find that our implementational capabilities are much short of what they need to be. And there are many reasons for that, but the fact remains that it is there. Technology is going to play a very, very important role, both in governance and in eroding the power of the state. We have got to exploit the technology that can ensure greater transparency, accountability, deliverance of service to the common man, grievance redressals, also creating awareness in the society, and concurrently, we have got to protect the civil society from threats like the cyber threats or many other threats that the technology poses. One study that has been made by an American think tank was about the role of technology in transforming the civilizations and the states and their character. It took about 1 million years for the caveman to find the fire. That was a great transforming technology. And then, from there, it took him another 50,000 years to discover the metal. That is when he found that the fire is able to melt certain stones which become into a solidified metal. And then another 30,000 years to invent the wheel. And after the wheel, the similar these things about the steam engine, and less than this thing that could be about the electricity and about the plane. So the time gap started getting reduced. Printing press in 15th century brought another very major this thing when there's a revolution in knowledge and informatics. Artificial intelligence is going to condense and transform the society. In 2 years' time, what it has taken about 2 million years for the human beings to change. It will change the way you live, it will change the way you think, it will change the way you dress, it will change the way that your wars are fought. If you put the artificial intelligence in the field of the nuclear, these things will probably, if we have got 31 ingredients, we see that if we meet, the nuclear bomb goes automatically. And the world will be totally endangered. If the human element starts becoming absent relatively, the dangers of this technology would be very, very high. And now that this is the age of youth, particularly in India, not around the world probably, the youth are becoming less and less, but in the subcontinent at least there are plenty of this thing. We have got a great distance about creating new job opportunities, and also equally important is about the delivery of justice. Now, let us do a reality check about the governance in India. There are two aspects of it. One is what we think very objectively looking at it, what it is. And secondly, what do people think about it? What are the perceptions? So perceptions are as important as the reality. I take a capsule of, say, last 10 years. I know that being a national security advisor in the current position, it may look that probably my figures or my facts are little tilted or little biased. But notwithstanding that, the facts are facts and they cannot be disputed. Terrorism in this country has been effectively countered. We had a major incident of terrorism on 5th July 2005. And we had the last one in 2013 in the hinterland. Except Jammu and Kashmir, which had been a theater of a proxy war or a covert warfare against Pakistan, which is a different ballgame, the whole of country has remained secure from terrorist attacks. And it is not that the efforts were not made. It is not that the people were not arrested. It is not the explosives were not recovered. Tons and tons of them have been recovered, even few of them only about 2 days back. Where a very major group targeting certain places in India and targeting this thing, where continuously the new groups have emerged. Enemies have remained very active, but fortunately, and I think it's more of a good fortune in the country, that we can say that we have had no terrorist incident in the hinterland. The left-wing extremism has been reduced to less than 11% areas than what existed in 2014. Most of the districts which had been declared as the left-wing prone these things, they had been declared as safe. There's a greater integration of the tribal population. Shri Prabhat Kumarji has been governor of Jharkhand, rather the creator of the state, in the sense in the formative years. He is the one who guided it. Probably if you go, you'll find that there is a sea ocean, there's a change of this. Roads, communications, schools, health centers, employment opportunities, jobs that have been created for the even illiterate youth, development of art and handicrafts in the tribal areas had been very high. Northeastern insurgency, nobody talks about it. We had a bad incident in Manipur, But that was not insurgency. That was a sectarian conflict between the Maitis and the Kukis. Of course, not that it is pardonable, it should be something that we say it is good, but the fact remains that I am talking about as far as the insurgencies are concerned. The northeastern insurgency, the very major groups have gone. Bold and decisive counteractions have been taken against foreign and internal perpetrators of this violence. It has been ruthless, but according to law. It has been what the country should be doing to deter its enemies, and I think that deterrence has worked. There has been a fast and efficient delivery of services to people. There has been a people-centric governance, simplification of governance. There have been repealing of the archaic laws and enactments, and the new ones have been made. 1005 disinformation by hostile propaganda or by vested political interests. These institutions are sacrosanct. They should be seen above politics. People's losing faith in these institutions, whether it is your defense forces, security forces, judiciary, electoral systems, comptroller, auditor general, etc., that will be something which will be very, very disastrous. So I think these are the areas we have to focus on. Ladies and gentlemen, we are thinking of a Viksit Bharat. We are aspiring. We are doing everything that will go for Viksit Bharat. But let me tell you that you can never have a Viksit Bharat with an archaic governance structure, with the standards of governance which do not measure up to the levels of a developed country. So we have got to train ourselves, we have to equip ourselves, we have to organize ourselves, we have to bring about a convergence in our policy making and in our program making, and also a whole of the government approach in their execution. Our executive skills and capabilities have got to be enhanced substantially. Once again, sir, I'm very grateful to you for giving me this opportunity. It had been indeed a great pleasure for me to interact with me and share some of my thoughts with you, but I can definitely tell you that the country is on the ascendancy, is doing very well, and it has got a great future, and with the efforts that every Indian is making today, every Indian who is becoming aspirational, every mother who wants a child to go to the best of schools, even when it comes from a very low economic group and others, is something which is extremely boosting, morale boosting, and I'm very confident that the vision of Sardar Patel of a great India, of an integrated India, of a powerful India will be realized by this generation. Thank you very much to any of the BRI schemes and projects. And of course, we engage with them. We have got various types of mechanisms at various levels. We have got a special representative mechanism where we talk about border issues, where we conduct the strategic dialogue and other things. We have also got at the defense level. We have got at the level of our foreign minister, our external affairs ministers, our foreign secretaries and others. So it's an ongoing process. We are dealing with them. And I think we feel ourselves very confident and very we will be able to deal. It is an area of concern and priority for us, but it's not something that we feel that it is the thing. As far as the larger geopolitical decision concerned about the US policies, tariffs and others, it's a more complex and a complicated thing. It will take a much more time. But India is very clear about its core interests. India is very distinct that, well, it will take the right decisions which maximizes its own national interests.
So my name is Sandeep. I'm from ANI. My question to you is regarding the current geopolitical situation as far as America is concerned. We've seen how Pakistan, the nation which was in fact sidelined on the international forum, stood together with President Trump, and in fact, how will that, in fact, you also mentioned about terrorism. Do you think that such kind of alliance with Pakistan and America together, will that have an effect on India's territory by any which way, or what all efforts are we making to make sure that such kind of influence by America to Pakistan does not affect our border areas or our security?
Actually, this does not concern the subject of my talk, nor even the topic in which we are dealing with it. So it will not be very appropriate for me to go into the areas which is not within our own agenda and with us. As far as terror policy of India is concerned, it is too well known. Pakistan is a sovereign country. It can free to have its relationship with any country. What it thinks is best for it, it is for them to decide. As far as terrorism is concerned, we feel we are quite capable of protecting our interest and our people, and we will not allow any external or internal forces to do anything that will undermine our national security interests.
So, not going to outside things, I'm talking of India now. The low rate of conviction of wrongdoers in this country gives them the ability to continue doing what they are doing with liberty. So is there anything that we need to do as a country?
I think it's a very relevant question and a very important question, that whether our criminal justice system is strong enough to provide the deterrence, and also we convict the people so that we get an opportunity to reform them, or we get an opportunity also to deter them, and we also this thing as an example to others to not to do that. To what extent they are achieving these objectives, I think is very questionable. So there is a need for that. There are hardened criminals who I feel that they are not very deterred by the criminal system. The new type of crimes, certain types of crimes and the criminal activities have gone down. Like there was this thing of the organized criminals and the gangs, mafias, whether there was a sand mafia or there were this thing, an underworld of Bombay or this thing like that, you will find that their activities have gone down. And a lot of action has been taken against them. But a new type of a criminal class is coming up, where we found it is more something which has to do with the social values. Say, crimes against women. They are not professional criminals, but at the same time, they have created a great sense of lack of safety and sense of well-being in the society. Similarly, about the things of the convictions of the hardened criminals is becoming more and more difficult as they are resorting to more of the technological systems. I don't have a time here to elaborate on that, but I'll tell you the new criminal laws as they have come, they have addressed this issue. That was the core of them, means one of the very important things, including the jail reforms, including the judicial reforms, including how to make the convictions more this thing. That will require better training of the police, better prosecution, better conduct of the lower judiciary, and there are many things which are being done in that direction. I think that if we review the situation after 2 years, we'll find that the situation has substantially changed. And if you have got others who are specializing on these matters, I would like them to see about this criminal administration system of this country. And again, it is still a work in the pipeline. If there are certain good suggestions that we can think of making the criminal administration system more effective, I think we'll certainly like to look into it.
Sir,
I'm
There's so many questions. Would you like to take more questions?
Okay, I'll
Sir,
take the last question.
Last question. Last question.
Mike,
okay.
General Saab. General.
I'm Major General Khurana, retired. Thank you very much, sir, for a very illuminating talk. You have touched on our strengths, our progress, and you also talked about introspecting on the weaknesses. You mentioned very important point about the perception, whether it's perception within the country or perception abroad. And today's world, with the communications and the media being what it is, perception makes a very, very large difference. My point is, most of us as we travel abroad or even within the country, we get quite often questioned what is happening in our country. And it is all based on internal domestic politics. I know it's a very sensitive point that I'm raising, but can we, as a country which has got a future, which is looking up to achieve its potential, can we do something to improve our internal domestic politics to a manner where our perception about our country's potential, strengths, achievements are not degraded? I hope, sir, I've made my point. I'd like to have your view on this.
I think I must clap for this question. You are very right. And I don't think I have got an answer. The only thing that will make irresponsible elements within the society, or including in the political circles, is that if people become sensitive to it and they don't take it very kindly, when somebody goes outside and says certain things about the country, which he knows and everyone knows are not true, and that they are false. I don't want to give examples because I don't want to make it political, this is and others. You are not undermining or you are not having a fair game of politics with your adversary. You are running down the country. And you are running down the country knowing that it's not true. You know, it is not a crisis of knowledge, it's a crisis of intention. We should do everything to see that we educate our people, we inform their people, we create better these things so that about the country's achievements, country's programs, there's a greater transparency in our governance. It should be done, and the government has not done it. It should continue to make efforts to see that it is done. But, for example, if somebody is trying to raise doubts inside and outside the country about the credibility of our electoral system, it is very unfortunate. That is the basis of our democracy. We pride ourselves as world's largest democracy. We pride ourselves in telling that is we had a continuous democracy. Amongst the developing world who got after independence, where the constitutional democracy started from the day one and has continued uninterrupted till now. Short this thing of emergency being an aberration, but still, there has been no change of government except through the ballot box. Now, it is no mean an achievement. Let us see how many examples within Asia or Africa or the other countries who are decolonized, who can claim that sort of a thing. We have had a constitution that has been amended, of course, to meet the requirements of the day, but there has been the continuity of the constitutional this thing. And we have taken our democracy right from the top to the village levels. And they are functioning village panchayat centers. They are very, very powerful institutions, and they are building up themselves. Now, if we would like to say certain things and make certain observations which undermine the credibility of this system of our governance, our democracies, our constitutional values, the constitution, the core values of our constitution and others, that is very, very unfortunate. I hope that greater public awareness and a greater public assertion on these issues over a period of time will make people feel a little more responsible and grateful to the nation to which we all belong.
Sir,
But thank you, sir.
Sir,
It's my concern. I often think about it.
Sir,
Why
very
people do
small
it?
question.
At one end, people are dying for this country. At one end, people are prepared to make any sacrifice. They are working day in and day out. You know it better as a former soldier and a person who has defended this country and others. How much of an effort and this thing goes, which is unseen, unheard, unsung, which goes into that. And somebody goes and makes a very casual sort of this thing. They tell us how many aircrafts are downed and things like that. That is very, very unfortunate. Anyway, thank you.